Hey guys, what's up? It's Crayola. It is like 6:39 in the morning and welcome to another car vlog. So welcome to the second installment of my car vlogs. I always try to do one every Monday morning because Monday is when, I commute a lot. Start your week off right with some Crayola, some good old Miss Mackenzie, some Miss K, some Miss Dixon, some Miss, you know what I mean. So, today it is a good old cold, kinda. I'm not really that cold in the morning right now because, my car is warmed up, so. Ooh. Turn my fan up one more just so I don't freeze. But right now I'm off to school. Instead of meeting later in the evening in the day like my professor normally does, he said, hey, we're gonna be meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning. Cool! Alright. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about something kind of cool, and that is my life with all my pets and some common questions that I get when it comes to owning all my pets and what it's like living with now 13 animals. Because since the last video that I made about my pets, we've gained 3 more. My life's been crazy. Alright, so here we go. Doing this all in one take like I normally do with car vlogs. Alright, so since the last video, we've gained 3 animals. We have gained 2 birds and a hamster. The hamster, who I'll get some footage of to edit into this video, is named Goldie. She is a teddy bear colored Syrian hamster. One thing about hamsters people don't get is they're like, oh yeah, they're teddy bear hamsters. They're really Syrian hamsters, it's just their coloring that makes them different. So she's a Syrian hamster, she's teddy bear colored. And then I have 2 birds. I got them from my friend. I'm taking care of them for her while she's at school and working full-time as a manager at McDonald's. She started noticing, while she wasn't home as much, that they were showing a lot of depression signs because she wasn't home and taking care of them like she should, because God spoiled these birds when she wasn't working as much. And she's just like, I'm about to take them to a bird sanctuary. I really don't want to, but this is what I feel is best for them at the moment. And then when I told my mom we were about to go to Wilmington, North Carolina and take them to a bird sanctuary, she said, why should she have to take them to a bird sanctuary? I've took care of birds before. Let her bring them here. So now my mom and I, well, mostly my mom, because she's the one that's had more experience taking care of birds. When she was younger, she helped her dad take care of his African gray and all the birds he had. I was taking care of a yellow and blue parakeet, and I'll edit that footage into. Their names are Pixel and Biscuit, and they are 2 parakeets. I believe Kaylee got them from PetSmart. I am not sure, but Kaylee, she's my best friend. I love her to death. And she is the sweetest, most loving girl ever. She loves birds. She loves taking care of birds. But with Pixel and Biscuit, her school, her new job, promotion to manager at McDonald's, she's just like, they're already starting to be depressed, and they're already starting to show some signs of depression and all this other stuff, and I just can't take care of them like I used to. And so now we're taking care of them. And so that's what's going on with those 3 birds. 3 beans. So now the count for animals is 7 dogs, 3 fish, 2 ferrets, 2 birds, and a hamster. Another thing with the hamster is that she's my hamster, and I have her in the same room right now with the ferrets. Now, a lot of people might think, like, hey, you should probably move her into a separate room. She's probably super stressed out. I know this. I'm trying to convince my dad to let me move her into another room for right now. But for right now, I have her in a 10-gallon breeder tank on my dresser. And I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, hey, 10 gallon isn't big enough. She should be in at least 40 gallons. Go get a bin from Walmart and make a bin tank. I know 10 gallons isn't that great. But I'll edit in a picture of the comparison from the 10 gallon to what I bought her in, because I actually bought her a cage and all from a local pet store. The story of how I got Goldie is I went into our local pet store in New Bern, Bill's Pet Shop. And I was really going in to buy more ferret vite and ferret supplement for my ferrets because they ran out of their skin and coat supplement. And what had happened was I was already researching hamsters anyway. I was going to get a hamster when I moved out because I've always wanted one. And I look and I see, and this isn't any fault on the pet store at all. This is strictly on the people that had her in the first place. But I see this little cramped critter trail cage, and again, I'll show the picture that has the comparison between my 10-gallon temporary that I have her in until she gets bigger, the 10-gallon breeder that I have her in. A little cramped critter trail. Didn't even bother to get a slightly bigger one that came with an interior wheel. Before I found the 10-gallon breeder, I had to buy an exterior wheel for her to run on before I was able to return it when I found the 10-gallon. Cramped critter trail. No wheel. Barely like an inch of bedding with like 2 inches of seed under the bedding. When I went to go clean the bedding after I moved her into the breeder, because I had to literally, like, after she got into the critter trail hellhole of a hamster wheel, I had to unclip the wheel to help get her into the breeder, because at the time, I'd have to be going down like this to get her. And you know dang well that when you have to go down like this to get a hamster, they're not gonna do well because they're thinking you're gonna eat them. And so that's what's going on right now. Here she is, poor little hamster. She's in the breeder, and finally it has room to run around. She starts running on her bigger wheel that I got her, because I got her at least the biggest wheel I could find her that I could afford at the moment for her that would fit in the 10-gallon, because that's the biggest one I could find. Well, the biggest one that I could find that had a topper, because the at Walmart they did have I believe at Walmart they did have a 20-gallon lizard setup, but it was really thin looking. It wasn't like an aquarium, because that's really what it is. It's an aquarium. It looks really thin. And I was just like, I really don't want to deal with it. So I just got the aquarium, the 10-gallon aquarium. And then eventually I'm going to step her up to either a 40-gallon breeder or a equivalent bin tank. And that'll probably have to be when I move out, which is going to be soon. And that's gonna be fun. So yeah. So she's running around her new cage, which she honestly loves. She's already burrowing around. I got her, instead of a house, I got her a little alfalfa log that she could chew on and hide on. She didn't have anything to chew on either. She was chewing on the bars. I could tell she was chewing on the bars in the Critter Trail cage because all of the inside of the cage, the bars were messed up. And what else was she doing? Oh yes, litter. I went to go clean up the litter, and then as soon as I got to take out the little compartment, they were like, oh, you can take out the compartment to clean it. As soon as I took out the compartment and took out the litter that was in it, oh my god, just like caked on poop. And again, I really do not fault the pet store that she was in, because they were just like, we don't want to stress out this hamster, because hamsters are very easily stressed out to the point where they could like give themselves a heart attack. So they're probably just like, I'm not sure when this hamster got returned back to the pet store, because they were like, she got taken from the pet store as soon as she was old enough, and then the mom who returned her said that she tried to get her kids to handle her, but they were allergic. And it was kind of funny because they kind of shook their heads, and it was just kind of like, hamsters, you need to handle them. And even though Goldie may be a little scared still, I always try to make sure I handle her because, she needs it. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, this poor hamster, she hasn't been handled. And once the kids, once it bit them once because it's being trapped in this little cramped, disgusting critter trail, of course it's not going to get handled because the kids think it's going to bite them, and if they don't want to play with it, of course the mom's going to be like, oh, I have to return it, but what am I going to say? Oh, my kids don't want to play with it because it's going to bite them? No, I have to say something. Oh, they're allergic. It's crazy, honestly. Oh, Lordy, poor Goldie. Alright. So now that, oh yes, and then the fish, Sammy Sam, he was our red beta from Walmart. He actually ended up passing away. What had happened was, it's really sad. I feel bad. I was feeding him, and the screw cap on the food came loose, and a whole bunch of food went in his water. And we didn't change the water quick enough, and he just got really stressed out, and he actually ended up passing away. So we actually have a new beta fish too, so we have 4 new animals. His name's Petey. He is actually a pet store beta fish. He's not from any Walmart or anything like that. But Petey's cool. He's a really pretty veil-tail beta. So Jeffrey is our lone Walmart beta that's left. So that's sad, but I feel bad because I tried changing the water and putting the already set out. Mom had already put conditioner and everything in the water, and I tried fixing it and it didn't work, and I was sad. But what was it? Now, people always ask me with the animals, like, how do you handle having so many animals? How do you handle 13 animals? And I'm pretty sure bigger pet YouTubers with, hundreds of animals or over 100 animals, they're like, how do you handle so many animals, Really, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and honestly, if I am being 100%, like, you know, all of the animals take time, but if it comes to, like, my animals, the animals that really and truly are my animals, I really can say are the ferrets and the hamster and Bobo. Those animals, sorry, my hairband was bugging me. Those animals really and truly are my animals. And I also help out with all the other animals at home. I help take them to the vet. What are we doing? Of course. The one time, really, my dude? Really and truly, the animals, they do take a lot of time. For some, they take a lot of patience. Patience really is a big thing too. You may think, you know, oh, you know, this animal doesn't take a lot of time. It's just a dog. How much work does a dog take? Depending on the dog, it can take a lot of time, work, and patience. For example, the Chihuahuas. Chihuahuas, no matter the type, breed, age, they are yippers. They will bark, they will yip at near about anything. At a running leaf, they will bark. Bark, 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 bark. They will bark. They will just go at it. If you can't handle a dog that's barking a lot, and you don't mind, and if you don't want to put a bark collar on a dog that's barking, don't get a Chihuahua. And that's with any dog. If you don't want to train the dog to not bark when it's not supposed to, you might want to reconsider a dog. Dogs take time. Dogs take training. Dogs, like any animal, take money. You have to be able to pay for the dog, their vet bills. I really hate when I see a dog, and people just get the dog, take it to its first few vets, and then never take it again. Dogs need heartworm medication. Heartworm's like the #1 killer of dogs, especially like in the South, but in the North, dogs can still get heartworm. And then, what else? A lot of things about pets. It's a lot of money to have a lot of pets. Even the fish. Like, we just had to buy heaters for 2 of the beta tanks. We're about to upgrade Petey to a bigger beta tank because his is too small, especially because he's a male tail and he likes room to fan out. Even fish, you gotta have the right equipment. You can't just put a fish in a bowl, because bowls are actually horrible for fish, especially like goldfish, because they distort their vision and it actually like really hurts them. So never put your fish in like a bowl. And then they need to have the right size tank. So let's say the minimum for a beta, I think now for all of ours, they're a little bit below the minimum. I think now a lot of people are trying to say the minimum should be a 5-gallon tank per beta. That's like the minimum size. That's just for one. If you want to even attempt to have 2 in one tank, you need to have at least a 10-gallon tank so they have room to have their own space. Because betas, if they do not have a space and you try to put 2 together, they will fight. You need to have a filter. A tank with a filter. If you get a tank and it does not have a filter, you need to go buy a filter. Even if you get a fish bowl or a fish gallon aquarium from Walmart, Buy a filter for it. Because you need to filter out the water. You need to help make sure the water has like oxygen levels in it and stuff. Make sure the water's clean. It helps keep out the bad bacteria. You need to make sure, like, you know, if you want to do like a bioactive enclosure, that you have algae killers and stuff in it that are bad for it, because the algae will suck all the oxygen out of it and kill your fish. You need to make sure if you're having tropical fish, like if you have tropical fish, that you have them at the right temperature. Because if you have tropical fish at the wrong temperature, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to get too cold, and they're not going to live as long because you're freezing them. And I really can only speak for ferrets, dogs, and fish and birds at the moment. Reptiles I can kind of talk for, because my boyfriend Aaron, who you guys will meet, he did own reptiles, so I do know a little bit about them. He owned a few snakes, and he owned a Chinese water dragon. But he doesn't really talk about the water dragon a bunch because he was really young when they owned it. So I can speak for a few reptiles, just from what I've researched myself, because when I do move out, I do really want to get a bearded dragon. I want to rescue one. But what else? What goes into owning a lot of pets? Basically money. A lot of your time when you're at home, if you're not doing schoolwork like I am, revolves around taking care of them, making sure you're properly socializing them. Like with me, Goldie, thank God she's nocturnal, because if I had to socialize the ferrets and Goldie every day, good God, who knows if I'd ever have time to really do schoolwork, you know? Like, the ferrets take up so much of my time during the day. I have to make sure I'm exercising them right during the day. I have to make sure I'm giving them the right amount of attention during the day, giving them time to be around people. I'm making sure to get them around different, like, ages of children for when I have children, because they'll more than likely still be around when I have children, since they live from, like, 6 to near about anywhere 10 to 13 years. I want to make sure I have them around children, because they'll probably be here when I have my children. So they're used to being around children. They take up so much of my time, cleaning their cage, changing their liner. They take up so much of my time. That's one thing a lot of people don't tell you when they go to a ferret. And then ferrets. One thing they don't tell you when they're going to have a ferret is that they need shots. Yearly rabies vaccines. They need a yearly rabies vaccine, and then hopefully when they start making it again, they will need a distemper vaccine. Right now, where I live at the vet, he does not want to give mine the canine distemper because it has not been approved for ferrets, and he is an exotic pets doctor, and he's just like, hey, if it's not legal and safe for ferrets, I don't want to give them something that could possibly hurt them. So I'm not going to give your ferrets the canine distemper, but I will give them the rabies vaccine that has been approved for ferrets. I'm not sure why they stopped making the ferret distemper, but I will tell you that I will give them the rabies. So you do need to make sure that your ferrets get rabies. You need to get yourself a doctor, a vet that knows what they're talking about, that has experience with ferrets, that's an exotic pets doctor. Now, ferrets, they are considered exotic pets. So you need to make sure that you have proper licensing. If you feel like your state needs licensing, you need to look it up. Pet stores, when you go to buy them, if you need one, you need to have a proper permit. They will usually help you get that permit if you need it, and you need to keep it up. Because you can get in trouble and get fined if you don't have the right permit. Same with any animal, really. You need to make sure that you have it. And thankfully in North Carolina, I don't need to have a permit to have a ferret. Good God. I I don't need to have another thing to worry about with them. What else is going on with the ferret world? Ferrets, they are also very smart. They are escape artists. I've had to change so much in my room because they can escape things. You do not know how many times I have had to pick up wires off the floor and hang up command strips because they know how to escape. They are very smart, but they also understand no. They are very mischievous, and if you are not prepared to have a smart animal that's smarter than any dog or cat or animal you've ever owned, except maybe a bird, you might not be ready for a ferret. And they're a whole nother ballgame. Let me see. How's my life been with all the pets? Living at home with all the pets has been a really nice stress relief, but it's also been kind of a stress itself as well, because it's also been kind of a stress sometimes as well, because whenever one of the animals is kind of like sick, you kind of freak out and start focusing on that one animal, and then all of your other animals start suffering from it as well. So let's say Benny, our white dog, if he ever got sick, I know my mom would start focusing on him 24/7 because he's old, and if he ever got sick, we knew we would 99% likely have to put him down. And so she'd want to give him as much attention and love as possible because she probably wouldn't have him for much longer after that. And so my other dogs, they'd probably start like getting depressed. And so I'd probably have to step in and give them a lot of attention. Same thing with Nene. If she took a turn for the worst, what would happen? My mom, she's really attached to my mom. She'd give her a lot of attention. And I'd have to step in with the other dogs. Bobo, he's my dog. I'd have to give him a ton of attention. Or I would give him a ton of attention because he's my emotional animal. And if he ever, well, when he passes away, I'm literally going to be an emotional wreck. So, my mom's really going to have to help me when it comes to, like, taking care of the ferrets and stuff like that, because I know when Bobo passes away, and Bobo's been through a lot. He's a stomach tumor survivor. He had to have parts of his intestines removed after his tumor ruptured. He's been through so much. And, he's just been through a ton. And so, with him going through so much, if whenever he passes away, I know I'm going to be a wreck because he's been through so much. And so my mom's really going to have to help me, take care of the ferrets, the hamster, because I'm just not going to be able to really function. And then really, that's really the sad thing with anything having a ton of pets, is that no matter how long you have them, they're all going to start passing away eventually. And that they're going to go across that rainbow bridge. My ferrets, while they may seem super spunky and peppy, I know that in so many years they're going to go across the rainbow bridge. And I'm going to have to be ready for it. And I'm going to be sad. But that's with any pet. You love it until they go across that bridge, and you just pray that you took as best care of them as you can. And you help with what you can. Now, there is a difference between having a bunch of pets and pet hoarding. While I may have a bunch of pets, they are well taken care of. They all have their space. They aren't suffering. Ooh, sorry. there is such a thing out there as pet hoarding, which is something my mom, with my love of animals, has always been worried about with me. But I would never ever let myself get to that point because I love animals too much. Pet hoarding. Whenever I see YouTubers with like 100 pet, like, oh, meet all my animals, 100 plus pets. Oh, meet my animals, 200 plus pets. And they only show like 10 animals, like, oh yeah, by the way, or they only show 20 animals. Oh, by the way, they all have babies, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, meet my lizards, Sally and Rocco. Like they have like, oh, they have over 100 pets, but you only see 20 of them because the rest of them are just babies. And you're just sitting there like, oh my God. That's when I start worrying kind of about pet hoarding, is when they start saying like, you know, oh, they have over 100 animals, yet you only see so many. And you don't really see the enclosures. That's when I worry about pet hoarding. Now, pet hoarding is when you keep a whole bunch of animals and, you know, their conditions aren't great. You kind of see this on hoarders too. Theme really is cats, because cats, if you don't spay or neuter them, once you have one litter, you have a ton of litters, and they can have thousands of cats. And it's all just living in one area, nasty. Trash slides kill cats. They don't even know it. There's just flattened cats on the floor, that kind of thing. But pet hoarding, I'll look up a better definition just to post on the screen. But pet hoarding with me, I would never get to that point, because with pet hoarding, while they may seem cared for, the animals just look like they're suffering. They look like they're not really properly taken care of. If you look at channels that have like a ton of lizards and their enclosures look kind of small, they just look like, oh, this looks like a tank. They're like, oh, this is a 20-gallon tank, but it looks like a 10-gallon tank from Walmart. They look like they have like a bunch of stuck shed on them and stuff like that. But it's just really sad to see, because you know they really do care about these animals, but they love the animals so much and they want to keep the animals so much, they don't realize that what they're doing is actually hurting the animals by keeping so many animals. You'll see it with the cats too. They'll have like ear infections from the feces not being cleaned up, eye infections. They'll have, you know, they'll have like I forgot what it is with like, it's like animals like dogs or cats where like they're labia, I think it's what they're called, when their uterus or labia expand out really far and they're not neat. Anyway, infections, they just look really sick, and their owners are like, oh yeah, I take care of them, you know, I can take care of every single one, they're all so cared after. But really, you know, the ones that they really like look after, there's only like 3, and then the other 40 are all really sick looking. That's really when pet hoarding becomes a factor. So yeah, you can have a ton of pets, but when it starts to become a problem, you might be a pet hoarder. When you can't really take care of them, yet you still don't want to find them better homes, you might be a pet hoarder. So yeah, this is Crayola.